It's the 8 o'clock hour on the All-State Sugar Bowl Prep Football Roundup. That means it is time for our All-State Sugar Bowl interview of the week. This week, we got the man that oversees all the communication strategies and all the efforts put forth by the SEC Conference. It's former LSU Sports Information Director and former Associate AD, Herb Vincent. Herb worked for LSU for like 20 years. He's a graduate of LSU and then most recently joined the SEC office in 2013 and is the Associate Commissioner for Communications for the entire SEC. And in that capacity, in his prior one for LSU, he's attended dozens of Sugar Bowls. We're so glad to have him in on the program tonight. Herb, thanks for joining us, man.
Good to be here.
So, Herb, look, I don't want to date you or anything, but you are, one of the associate commissioners for communications for the Southeastern Conference. Before you were the sports information director at LSU, and that's all about dealing with communications. And communications have changed since you kind of got into this profession. Kids weren't walking around with cell phones on campus when you started. And when they got cell phones, they didn't have pictures and cameras and videos and everything on that. So our landscape and how we communicate has changed. How's that changed basically the job that you've been in for these years?
Oh, gosh, it's changed dramatically, and it continues to change. It is changing more rapidly than ever before. When I first got into it, we had newspapers and televisions, and you didn't have the internet. Radio talk shows were really just kind of starting to get into it, so you had a lot more daily conversation, a lot more talk about rumors at that point when it got into radio. But when you just had kind of newspapers and television, you had a morning paper, you had an afternoon paper. Reporters spent more time on stories. They weren't rushing to get information out unless they had some kind of real breaking news. Now it happens all in real time. You can be watching just the weekly press conferences that football coaches hold. There are people tweeting in real time what they're saying. Sometimes I think even before they finish a thought, they're tweeting it out. And there's instant reaction and instant reporting of news. And sometimes once a report or news gets out, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So you might have one reporter sitting right next to another reporter. They interpret how somebody says completely differently, but they tweet it out two different ways. And if you're a fan just reading this, it's like what actually happened there. So there's less time spent on the media's part putting stories together and getting information out that affects everybody in our business and reacting to that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, they didn't have the internet, when you had started at LSU, and now not only is it internet and Instagram and Twitter and everything, it's all instantaneous, but now we're dealing with the NIL, name, image, and likeness, and how's that affecting the SEC and the SEC schools with these deals, I guess you could say, being offered to athletes so that they could profit off of their name, image, and likeness?
It's so soon. I think we're really learning every day how it's changing the world of college athletics. Just yesterday, there was announced an NIL deal with the entire Kentucky basketball team, all the players on the basketball team at Kentucky. So you don't know how to react to that. One of the things that's been unique about NIL is that every state has a different law or executive order or no laws at all, depending on what state you're in. NIL operates differently. So while we're used to schools coming to the conference office and asking us about rules, rule interpretations, guidance on how they can do things, when we get called about the NIL, we really have to push back, put it back on the school and say, you're going to have to talk to your in-house attorney. You're going to have to talk to some guidance there in your state, because things are different in Louisiana than they are in Kentucky, than they are in Georgia, than they are in Texas. And so we're still learning how to deal with all that. That's one of the reasons that we're pushing for federal legislation around name, image, and likeness, so that everybody across the country will be operating under the same rules. And until we get to that, there's going to be a little bit of chaos out there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, but that could probably, as you said, solve some of the problems, especially state to state, because when you're in the SEC together, like you said, you can operate differently state to state. So hopefully something like that's in the works and can kind of smooth out the process a little bit for everybody.
Right.
Well, look, the SEC has been a partner with the Sugar Bowl, our banner sponsor, for years. From what I've been told, unofficially, that partnership started in 1935 with, I'm going to say it, Tulane was the SEC champion. And Tulane defeated Temple, who was actually coached by none other than Pop Warner. So that was the unofficial start, some almost 90 years ago. But officially, the partnership between the SEC and the Sugar Bowl started in 1975. And I think, Herb, back then in 35 and even 75, the Sugar Bowl might not have been of the mindset that it was getting the best conference in the country. But I think it worked out pretty well because it's clear that over the years, the SEC has become, the dominant conference. And that partnership going way back when, whether unofficially or officially, has obviously benefited both parties, the Sugar Bowl and the SEC. Wouldn't you agree?
I'd agree. I think that the Sugar Bowl SEC relationship, there's some great traditions in college sports. I think that's one of the great traditions in all of college football. It goes back so many years, so many great games, so many great personalities. And, I think it always goes back to people. And I think it's the people involved. There have always been great people to work with at the Sugar Bowl. And I like to think there's great people in the SEC across the schools and the conference office that have had just real strong relationships with the folks at the Sugar Bowl, and that helps make it work. The city of New Orleans obviously is one of the best entertainment and sports venues in the entire country. You talk to anybody in the country, they talk about, hey, what's the best place to have a Final Four? What's the best place to have a college football playoff championship? New Orleans ranks high among those. So I think that the city of New Orleans has a lot to do with that. The location and just the great games that have played out over the years in the Sugar Bowl just continues to foster that relationship.
Well, Herb, I want to talk a little bit about the SEC. Of the last 15 football national championships, 14 of those have had an SEC school in it. At opening day, the NFL this year, there were 350 SEC players on NFL rosters. As I said, the SEC has been enjoying dominance in the college football landscape. And, it's always the climb up the hill and you can get to the top. But with everything, it's staying on the top of your game, staying at the top of the hill and maintaining that is always probably the hardest thing to do. But the SEC just appears to continue to do that year in and year out. What is it that allows this conference to not only have gotten to the top, but just to stay there consistently year after year?
I think it's the commitment. It's the commitment of our universities, of the individual institutions, and the people there, and the fan base, the support that there is. Our conference motto is "It just means more," and it just means more to our fans. It just means more to our schools. There's a commitment of the student athletes to achieve this certain level of excellence that's expected because it is the Southeastern Conference. I like to think that, success breeds success. And so the more success you have, the more opportunity you have to continue having more success. And like you said, it's hard to stay there. As long as you don't screw it up somehow, you can continue to get better and better. And I think the success in one sport helps breed success in another sport. I think success at one school in the SEC helps breed success at another school in the SEC as people continue to strive to be better than the school that won in the previous year. So, the resources that are applied, the commitment to it, and the fan bases, and also this area of the country, there's good weather, there's great athletes, there's a real commitment to high school athletics that helps with the quality of the individuals, the student athletes who are coming out of our schools. There's a whole lot of things come into play. But all that put together means just really great success for the SEC across all sports.
It's funny, Herb, you mentioned, success in one school can bring out success in another. Success in one sport in the SEC can bring it out in another. And I know we're talking about football. It's a high school football show. That's what the season that we're in now. But, I mean, the SEC, championships won in baseball and basketball. Women's gymnastics is always huge for the SEC. Track and field, golf. You pick a sport. I mean, I guess other than hockey, right? Is there any other sport that the SEC is not ultra competitive in?
I don't think so. I think it's one of the things is I think all of our schools strive to compete. They start every year competing for a national championship in every one of their sports. And they when you aspire to that level and you try to build to that level, then you're going to have great success. And obviously not everybody can win a national championship every year in every sport. But when you're striving for that, it raises the entire level of your sports program, whether it's football or it's gymnastics or it's men's basketball or women's basketball. It just raises the level of excellence by aspiring to be that high.
Well, Herb, look, I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking time to chat with us tonight. I know it just means more in the SEC, and you have been there for a while. Y'all are doing a great job. Everything that the SEC is doing, especially in partnership with the Sugar Bowl, we appreciate. So thanks for joining us on the program tonight. We're glad to have you.
In fact, so the Sugar Bowl has a special place in my heart. My first one was in 1975, and I think I've been to not all of them, but most of them since then. And the people down there are great. It's a fun place to go, fun event to go to. I always like opening my new year somewhere in New Orleans. So I look forward to it again this year.
There you go. If you're down on Bourbon Street, New Year's Eve, look for him. He's Herb Vincent. He's going to be partying hard, and then hopefully the next day making it to the Dome to attend the Sugar Bowl. All right. Stick around. We're going to be back with more. We got reporters. We got scores. We got coaches. We got it all here in the All-State Sugar Bowl Prep Football Roundup. We're with you to 10:30 tonight here on WWL.